It was July 30th, 1945, when the Pacific Ocean swallowed one of the U.S. Navy's most decorated ships, the USS Indianapolis. Her story is one of courage, secrecy, and unimaginable suffering. What began as a top-secret mission to help end World War II would end as one of the darkest tragedies in naval history. The Indianapolis wasn't just any ship. She was a Portland-class heavy cruiser, 610 feet long, armed with 9 8-inch guns and capable of traveling over 30 knots. She was built for speed and strength, and she had proven herself in battle time and time again. Throughout World War II, the Indianapolis had seen action across the Pacific. She'd been hit by a kamikaze at Okinawa, fought in the Aleutians, and supported the invasions of Iwo Jima and Saipan. The crew, nearly 1,200 men, were proud to serve aboard her. They believed she was unsinkable. But in July of 1945, just weeks before the end of the war, the Indianapolis was chosen for a mission so secret that even the captain didn't know its true purpose. The cargo, a small collection of crates, unremarkable on the outside, but inside were the final components for Little Boy, the first atomic bomb ever used in war. This bomb would soon be dropped on Hiroshima, changing history forever. Captain Charles B. McVay III, a seasoned officer with decades of service, was given simple orders: deliver the cargo to Tinian Island as quickly as possible, and say nothing about it to anyone. On July 16th, the Indianapolis departed San Francisco. Few aboard realized they were carrying something that could end the war. Some sailors joked about the mystery boxes, wondering what was inside. Others simply focused on the routine: cleaning the deck, standing watch, writing letters home. The ship made the journey in record time. 10 days later, on July 26th, the Indianapolis arrived safely at Tinian, delivering the uranium and key bomb components without incident. The mission was over, and the crew could finally relax. After unloading, Captain McVay received new orders to sail to Leyte Gulf in the Philippines to join other ships preparing for the expected invasion of Japan. It seemed like a simple, uneventful leg of the journey. No unexpected danger. The night of July 29th was calm. The ocean was glassy, the sky clear and star-filled. Sailors slept on deck to escape the heat below. Shortly after midnight, July 30th, a Japanese submarine, the I-58, commanded by Captain Mochitsura Hashimoto, spotted the silhouette of the Indianapolis. Hashimoto gave the order to fire. 6 torpedoes shot through the dark water. 2 found their mark. The first torpedo tore off the ship's bow. The second struck near the fuel tanks, igniting a massive explosion. The ship erupted in fire, the blast throwing sailors into the sea. Flames shot hundreds of feet into the air. Men ran through smoke and chaos, trying to escape the inferno. Within 12 minutes, the USS Indianapolis, a ship that had survived years of brutal combat, was gone. Around 300 men went down with her. The remaining 900 were cast into the open ocean, many without life jackets, clinging to debris, oil, and each other. The water was black and slick with fuel. There was no distress signal received. The ship's disappearance went unnoticed. For the survivors, the nightmare was only beginning. As dawn broke, they found themselves scattered across miles of ocean. Some had managed to climb onto rafts, but most were treading water, clinging to anything that would float. The sun was merciless. The salt burned their skin and lips. The oil made them sick. And then the sharks came. At first, they circled at a distance. Then, one by one, they began to attack. Survivors described watching their shipmates dragged under, screaming, then silence. The sharks would strike, vanish, then strike again. One survivor, Edgar Harrell, later said, "They came in groups. You never knew when or who they'd take. You just prayed it wasn't you." For hours, then days, the men drifted, hungry, thirsty, and terrified. Many began to hallucinate. Some saw islands that didn't exist. Others claimed to see ships and swam toward them, never to return. By the second day, men were dying from exposure and dehydration. The sun blistered their skin, their lips cracked and bled. A few couldn't resist the temptation to drink seawater. It only made them delirious and hastened their deaths. There were moments of hope, though. Small groups formed circles, encouraging each other to stay awake, to stay alive. One man would say, "Hold on, help's coming." But deep down, they all knew. No one even knew they were gone. By the third day, the group had grown smaller. The water was littered with bodies, some floating, some sinking. Sharks had grown bolder. The survivors described the nights as the worst. Pitch black, freezing, with the sound of fins slicing the water nearby. One man recalled, "You could feel them bumping your legs in the dark. You just waited, hoping it wasn't your turn." By the fourth day, men began to lose hope. The few rafts that remained were overcrowded and covered in oil. The strongest tried to care for the weakest, but exhaustion was setting in. And then, fate intervened. A Navy pilot named Lieutenant Wilbur Gwynn was flying a routine patrol mission when he noticed something strange, a long oil slick cutting across the water. Curious, he flew lower. Then he saw it, men waving, hundreds of them, floating in the ocean. He immediately radioed for help. "There are survivors in the water." Within hours, rescue operations began. Seaplanes and ships raced toward the scene. One pilot, Lieutenant Adrian Marks, took the incredible risk of landing his plane directly on the rough ocean surface, against orders, just to save as many as he could. He and his crew pulled exhausted sailors from the water, filling every space of the plane, even tying men to the wings so they wouldn't drift away. Rescue ships soon arrived, pulling hundreds more from the sea. But it was too late for most. Out of 1,196 men aboard the USS Indianapolis, only 316 survived. The rest, nearly 900, died from exposure, thirst, or shark attacks. It remains one of the worst losses of life in U.S. naval history. When news reached the Navy, shock and outrage followed. How could a ship vanish without anyone noticing? Investigations revealed a series of communication errors and misplaced assumptions, messages that were ignored, reports that went unseen. But instead of admitting fault, the Navy looked for someone to blame. That person was Captain Charles McVay. He was charged with hazarding his ship by failing to zigzag, a defensive maneuver meant to make ships harder to hit by submarines. The trial was controversial from the start. Even the Japanese submarine commander Hashimoto testified in McVay's defense, saying that zigzagging would have made no difference. But the Navy was determined to assign blame. McVay was found guilty. His career was destroyed. For years, he received hate mail from families of the dead, blaming him for their loss. In 1968, after more than 2 decades of torment, McVay took his own life. He was found holding a toy sailor, a small gift from one of the survivors' children. Decades later, a new generation sought justice. In the late 1990s, a 12-year-old boy named Hunter Scott researched the Indianapolis for a school project. His presentation caught national attention, and soon survivors joined his cause to clear McVay's name. In 2000, Congress officially exonerated Captain McVay, acknowledging that he had been wrongfully blamed. The story of the Indianapolis continued to echo through the years. In 2017, 72 years after the sinking, the ship was finally found, 18,000 feet below the surface of the Pacific, by an expedition funded by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. The wreck lies in silence, preserved by the cold and the dark, a monument to the men who served and sacrificed. Today, the legacy of the USS Indianapolis isn't just a story of loss, it's a story of endurance, brotherhood, and the will to survive against impossible odds. Those men faced the depths of fear and despair, yet held on to hope for 5 endless days. And even though most never made it home, their courage still speaks across time. The Indianapolis reminds us of the cost of war, the weight of duty, and the strength of the human spirit. Her name has become more than just a ship. It's a symbol of sacrifice, of perseverance, and of truth, finally brought to light. The ocean may have claimed her, but her story will never be lost.